Victoria 3 Pivot of Empires is finally here, and we have a reworked society, new political movement system, and the addition of famine and starvation, all of which we're gonna make good use of today, especially the last two, because we're playing as Japan, the ultimate nation to actually learn the game, because if you screw something up as this nation, you die, so you have to restart. That being said, pay close attention. I'm gonna explain all the new features as well as how to turn this lonely Japanese shogunate in the mighty Japanese empire. There have been some significant changes, some buffs, some debuffs for overall nations around the world. For example, Sardinia PM1 starts with 40% literacy, as does Japan with 54% literacy compared to the 36% that it used to start in previous patches. That being said though, the Japanese start with a much weaker economy, and because of the rework to political movements, it's significantly more difficult to actually modernize Japan. We cannot do the old civil war strats anymore because your capital can also join the rebellion against you. Now before anything, let's research stock exchange, Kathanjin, Lates, and then atmospheric engine, and we'll see what we do afterwards. That should be enough for the research queue. Budget wise, we're gonna add a few consumption taxes on tobacco, services, and liquor. The building tab has filters now, so we see what exactly is located in the Japanese shogunate, as well as we can see what buildings we have built abroad, and it's easier to change the production methods for those buildings specifically. We also have the classic divide between urban, rural, and development, but we have ownership as well as a filter: nationally owned, privately owned, non-Japanese owned. So that means when foreigners build in our country, we can see those buildings in particular as well. And we also have company owned, because in this patch, companies own buildings in their home state. That being said, we're going to change some of our initial buildings production methods: non-luxury clothing for the textile mills, market squares, so we actually have a bit of a use for the initial 5 glass works that we start with. We can also change a couple of our fishing wharfs to fishing trawlers, as we do start with 1 shipyard, so this way we increase the productivity of the shipyard, as well as we can do cargo ports, again increasing the demand for clippers. One more thing is setting to secular administration. The government administration buildings means that we get more bureaucrats and less clergymen, which is important because we want to give less power to the clergy. Now the construction queue, we're going to start with 5 construction sectors in Kanto, follow that up with 1 cotton plantation and 5 logging camps. Having fiber and wood in the same state as the construction sector means we bypass the market access, which we have a massive issue right now, as our market access price impact is 60%. So essentially, unless you have that particular good in the province where you need it, importing it from adjacent provinces is 40% more expensive. That's insane. 40% more expensive. Keep that in mind. So we essentially bypass all of that by having all the required buildings built in 1 state for now. That also means that getting textile mills, at least 1 textile mill in every state, is also going to be a requirement, so that it's cheaper for the population in those particular states to get clothes as well, instead of having to import them from 1 state. We still have quite a bit of authority, so what we're going to do next is we're going to spam the promote social mobility edicts. This will continue to increase our literacy, as such increasing the maximum innovation cap. But that being said, remember that the higher your literacy, the more birth rate reduction you get. When you have 100 literacy, you get minus 10 birth rate. So right now we have roughly minus 5.5% birth rate because of our 54% literacy. Not an issue though. We do have 31 million population, which is huge. It's also the reason why we have such massive issues with taxation. 62,000 in unrealized taxes because of the amount of population. The way we fix this is not, of course, by spamming government administrations, because what that means is, sure, we get a little bit of extra taxes, but the cost for maintaining these government administrations, as well as the input cost for paper, is going to destroy our economy. So we would eventually pay more for that than we would be getting back in taxes. So then how do you fix it, Ludi? You fix it by switching away from traditionalism, which gives minus 25% taxation capacity. You also go for appointed bureaucrats as your bureaucracy legislation, which gives plus 25 taxation capacity. So these 2 laws alone increase your taxation by 50%. And then you also do legislation such as central archives, which gives flat 25 taxation capacity, as well as standardized filing cabinets, meaning we can get from the same amount of government administrations double the amount of taxation. So right now we're getting 260 taxation, we would be getting 390 taxation. So it's not double, but it's close to double taxation essentially. Now early on we have the issue of the shogunate being extremely strong, and in order to get rid of the shogunate with this particular patch, we have to make use of the political movements. Right now political movements are not that many, so we have to wait until more of them spawn. We really need a peasant movement, which will help us with empowering the peasants and actually passing homesteading. The way that it works in this patch, political movements have a core ideology, and that particular ideology will endorse certain laws as well as it will oppose other laws, and we can bolster or we can suppress these particular movements. We cannot bolster and suppress interest groups anymore as we were able in previous patches, so remember that. Now, until we do get those peasants, I guess we can go for dedicated police force. Reality is there's not much of a choice here. We have to go for whatever we can, really, and we're just doing this to wait for time to pass until we get the peasants movement more than anything else. We're going to be improving relations with the Russians and the British. That's because if they have cordial relations or above, they cannot attack us anymore, so that's pretty much the main point. We don't want to get attacked by Russia or the British because they have become a lot more aggressive in this particular patch than they've ever been before. Also, we're going to switch around the road maintenance decree wherever we're building things. That's because having road maintenance makes construction efficiency better, so we essentially build things a little bit faster than we would otherwise. We just got the peasants movement. Now, I want to bolster them, but I don't have enough authority, so I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my government wages, increase the wages to very high, and then that means I can actually bolster the peasants movement now. In this particular patch, you cannot bolster interest groups anymore. You can only bolster the political movements. Now, the peasant movement actually has 9% support, and it would eventually go up to 39%, which is actually a lot. We also have 14% activism. That's based off of our legislation because they oppose serfdom and land-based taxation. It increases the activism. If we don't have those laws, it lowers the activism. Also, their core ideology will help us pass homesteading as well as even change our taxation laws if we need to. Let me go back and lower my government wages now. I don't want to waste that much money on government wages, obviously. Also, I've added more logging camps to the construction queue, and I've added one shipyard in Kanto 2. That's because we need more clippers, and the shipyard requires wood and fiber as its input goods for the production method, and we have both of those goods in the state, which means that, again, it's not influenced by the market access price impact, so it's not 40% more expensive, those two goods, because they're getting imported from adjacent states. And you know what? I think I can do 2 more construction sectors. We got a few logging camps already in here, so we could probably sustain already a couple more construction sectors. Yeah, let's do that. With the Japanese, the main issue is that you do not want to take loans, because if you do start taking loans, we're not a great power, we're not a major power, so we take a lot of loans. We have to pay massive amounts of interest, which means we really do not want to take any credit until we've become a recognized nation at least, and of course until we have become a great power or a major power. I'm gonna give this one more tick. If it doesn't pass to consideration on this tick, then I'm gonna cancel dedicated police force and I'll go for homesteading instead. Oh, come on, you really had to go to consideration. I was like super ready to cancel this law so I can actually enact homesteading. Because we are a closed economy, whatever we have an unbalance of can really destroy our country. So we need to make sure that we try at least to cover some of these things that we have massive shortages of. Right now, that's mostly logging camps. However, if we go for sawmill production method, we cover all of the wood needs. That does require tools, so we're gonna spam 3 tooling workshops, which should cover the 20 to 24 logging camps that we have right now. It's roughly around 90 tools that we're gonna get. We're gonna have a small shortage, but it's still acceptable overall. Colonization of Hokkaido has been finished. Now we can also colonize Sakhalin to the north before the Russians decide they want to take those lands. The Russians do start with a claim on Sakhalin, so they might attack us for that province later down the line, which is why we're improving relations with them, so that maybe, just so maybe, we actually ally them and we don't need to worry about our northern flank. Oh, we're starting to get a little bit of a famine situation. No, it should be fine. We've got excess grain actually right now. That's primarily because of our subsistence farms. It's not because we have too many rice farms. We only have 14 rice farms actually. With this patch, we also can see what exactly is required for us to get recognition. We have to move away from serfdom. That means we have to get homesteading. We have to move away from traditionalism, meaning we got to get likely agrarianism, which is going to be the easiest one, and we need to be in the top 50 for standard of living as well as GDP per capita. That's going to make it tick up until we get 200 progress, and then we officially become a recognized power. We also can request embassy, which is going to increase the progress by 20, but it's useless getting that now since it would just go down afterwards as we don't have any of the requirements for the progress to advance. Oh, we got most of the logging camps, so now let's go ahead and do some iron mines as well. We're going to get 3 iron mines because once we finish building the the iron mines, we can change to the rough iron tools production method, doubling the amount of tools that we get from the same amount of tooling workshops. Actually, I just realized I'm pretty poo-poo brain. Let me get 2 tooling workshops and 2 iron mines. That way I get 120 tools, and that's more than enough to cover for everything I need. And we got the first tooling workshop. I'm gonna change the 9 logging camps in Kanto to use the tools. That means we need 47 tools for this particular building to properly function. So we need more tools. We're only making 16 right now, but because there's such a high demand for it, we get a lot of employment really quick in this province. And we have a small rebellion. I'm gonna create a 3rd army actually, and I'm gonna send like 4 units or something like that. I don't want to send too many units. I don't need to mobilize the entirety of my army to fight against literally one rebel. So I've added the petite bourgeoisie in the government, which allows me to go for appointed bureaucrats. There's a slight chance, but we need to get it done so we actually improve our taxation capacity and we start making more construction sectors as consequence too. And speaking of, I'm gonna update my construction queue here, change some production methods as well. We're also gonna need some more cotton plantations as well as a paper mill. Oh, we got actually one of the iron mines done, so that means we can change over the production method of the tooling workshop to the rough iron tool production method. We don't have enough iron to cover it yet, but it's only 9 weeks until we get the second iron mine, so we should still be fine. Now I think we need to start queuing up the extra iron mine and tooling workshop, because we are starting to run out of tools, unfortunately. The problem with some of these particular shortages is that even though we build more furniture manufactories, it's always going to really be an issue, right? What we really need to do is get the lathes and the die workshop production method, and we're literally working on that as we speak. That will be how we start properly producing a decent amount of those particular trade goods, which in turn means that after we got that technology, we can actually start expanding and building clothing workshops and furniture manufactories around our country efficiently. So I'm gonna say queue up 1 in Kanto, 1 in Tohoku for now. Eventually we want to get them in every single province. Now we can go for lathes and die workshop. The good part about this is that die workshop also inputs dyes, which we have quite a few of, so the dye plantations are also going to start being productive now. Pretty disappointed to see, but appointed bureaucrat, I'm not going to even bother anymore with it. It's not going to pass, and I just wasted a ton of time with that, honestly. Let's change and get the Hayman in the government. Maybe we can actually pass homesteading now. We'll attempt it. We've got a 25% chance that it will pass and a 23% that it would not, so it's kind of 50-50 really at this point. Also, it's time that we get universities. To start with, I'm going to do 1 university in every single one of my states, and then because that's going to require a lot of extra paper, I'm going to start getting some paper mills also. 2 of them for now, let's say in Chugoku, and we'll see afterwards if we need more or not. Wait, what? We passed on consideration phase? Ain't no way. A part of the new update, we also have this event here, which will lower the power of the shogunate if we choose to go down that particular path. We, of course, can choose to side with the shogunate if we have potatoes in our brain, which we don't, so we're going to be going for the first option. And this gives us securing the power domestic affair journal entry. If we manage to get the clout of the shogunate below 20%, we're actually going to be able to do that particular journal entry. So we're going to cancel a couple more social mobility edicts here. One thing we can do to lower a little bit the power of the shogunate is to just fire the generals that they have and recruit generals that are loyal to the other interest groups like the Hayman. Now we get a second event in that chain of events, which lowers their political strength by 25 as well as approval by 2. So they're down to 21% clout now. And we managed to secure the power. This also gave us a timed legitimacy plus 15% from a tranquil state for 5 years, which is actually perfect because we were really struggling with our legitimacy. Alright, we also now have line infantry, and we went to adoption phase with homesteading. Oh my god, is this actually gonna happen? I'm genuinely getting hyped. This is the 3rd attempt, by the way, guys. I've had some horrible runs as the Japanese so far. I feel like this patch has nerfed them way too much. We need to get romanticism before we go for the water tube boilers, because we need to pass agrarianism. There's less of a chance of us getting interventionalism compared to getting agrarianism right now, because after we get homesteading, what's going to happen is the farmers will get 25% political strength, and that's primarily people that support the Hayman, which in turn has the agrarian ideology that endorses agrarianism. Oh my god, this is insane. A 35% chance. Can we actually get that? Dude. All right, let's check how many universities we have. We have 3 already. Again, I'm changing to the secular academy, going away from the clerical educations from my universities too. For the same reason, we don't want to make the clergy too powerful. It already is extremely powerful, unfortunately. So we have to curb their strength somehow. Come on, dude. 49%. Please, 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 please. Pretty please pass. We've got the one universities built in most places. I think I'm gonna go for the second university in every single state too. But yeah, getting 2 universities in every state, not only does it give us more qualifications, plus 10% qualifications in all of these states, but it also creates academics in these states. And the academics, as you can see, support the Hayman above everything else, as well as the petite bourgeoisie, meaning we make the Hayman even stronger, get them even more legitimacy eventually, as well as consequence. That being said, we do not need to get more than 2 universities in every state. That's enough, by far enough. So what we're gonna do to max out our innovation cap is we're just gonna spam the rest of the universities in one state at your choice. I prefer to do Kanto or Kansai. Both of them have really high population, and they're states that will be massively focused for their industrial output eventually. And we're gonna continue this up with the clothing manufacturers, 1 in each state, as I said earlier. We just got homesteading also. That is absolutely amazing. So now that means all of our agricultural and ranch buildings are gonna have at least 50% of the ownership by the workers. We also have the support to go for agrarianism, but we still didn't get the technology, so this is honestly just sad. I guess what we could do is go for professional army in the meanwhile to actually get more political strength for the servicemen and officers. You get 200% political strength for officers and 50% for servicemen. Seeing as we got atmospheric engine, changing this production method means we get significantly more minerals out of our mines. It does mean it requires coal mines, which is why we built this one coal mine in the first place here. And also, speaking of, we can change now our gas street lights production method for the urban center, which again requires coal. And we can also get 2.5k progress for empiricism from the journal entry being finished as well for universities. Especially early on, hunting for some of these is not a bad idea. The development journal entries like atmospheric engine, the iron mines need to get more occupancy. So we need to make sure that more iron is required. How do we do that? Well, we change production method. So we can change this particular construction sector in Kansai to use the iron frame buildings, which requires iron and tools. So that means there's higher demand for iron, and as you can imagine, now there's more people working in the iron mine. That being said, I really would like to get all of my construction sectors to use the iron frame building. So I'm gonna actually start spamming some iron mines now. Let's say spam 7 iron mines, and we're gonna need some tooling workshops as well afterwards. I'm gonna stop doing the universities. I'm only gonna keep the 2 that are already being constructed and push the textile mills at the bottom of the queue. We can do those after we've upgraded our production method to the iron frame building. Getting 12 iron frame building construction sectors is honestly really good. We cannot sustain that with our current economy, but we'll slowly build up towards it by just getting more people better jobs, which in turn means they can pay more taxes and we make more money off of them. Also, a lot of people I know have asked in the comment sections, when do you start going for universities? There's no specific date when you go for universities. Honestly, as soon as you can afford universities, go for them. Genuinely, they're not that expensive. Look at this. Universities only cost us 1.5 thousand. That's it. But the one that's expensive is the paper cost. So we got paper cost here, and we also have 6,000 for the people employed in the university. So overall, it's like 8,000 something for the universities we have currently. If we really need money that much, we can also just disband some of the soldiers, say like 10 units. It's gonna give us back like 1,000 more gold, I guess. Not even 500 more, I guess. But hey, we're making leeway, boys. We got standard of living up to 10.2, which is a significant improvement from the 7.8 or something like that we started with. Oh, we got line infantry. That is amazing, because we usually have to worry about big nations attacking us around 1850. So now that we got line infantry, we can upgrade our units and actually put up a fight. But before we upgrade them, we do have to start getting some arms industries built. Each level of arms industry with the first production method gives us 30 small arms. So considering we got 90 units right now, we would need 3 arms industries to sustain our whole army. Dude, why is this happening to me? Also, we started the process of restoring the emperor as the rightful leader of our country. The reason that's happening is because the shogunate's not a part of the government, and we also have 50 legitimacy or above. Right now we have 51. It's not much, but hey, it's enough to actually oust the shogunate, which right now only has 8.2 clout, which is 0, bro. They're basically non-existent anymore, in my opinion. We have to hold it above 50 legitimacy for 10 years though, so that's gonna take a while. The Americans are damaging relations because they're domineering towards us. How do I put this? That is scary. That is beyond scary, actually. I'm gonna continue to try and improve relations with them. I really don't want the Americans to attack me, because it is Jover if they do attack me. Also, we got 89% success chance. How are you not passing this already, man? Come on. And the British expel our diplomats. This is my point. This patch, why is everybody so much hating us, man? Oh my god. And it's just bad. It's just overall bad. If they attack me, I cannot defend myself right now. They already start with skirmish infantry. So let me check the literacy map mode. Look at that. We're the greenest spot in the whole world because of our social mobility decrees. And we also got the romanticism done. So that means we can start going with agrarianism right after this legislation. We have quite a bit of support for agrarianism, let's say. That's also going to fix our economic issues, because not only does it increase our taxation capacity by 25, but it also increases our market access price impact by 15 because of the debuffs that traditionalism currently has. Hey, on the bright side, we got 3.5k progress for water tube boilers. So we're very close to actually getting water tube boilers now. And we got consideration for agrarianism. That's awesome. I changed my production method to iron frame in Kanto, and I've deleted a couple of the construction sectors. It means we're up to 42 now. We still have a few more construction sectors we can change to iron frame in Chubu. But yeah, it's such a tough decision, because I have to choose between bringing the Emperor back and modernizing, which in turn means I would start taking a lot of debt, or just deleting more of my construction sectors. That would be an option too. So then I don't take the debt, but I also develop slowly, economically speaking. Now, this technology actually saved us, because the amount of extra goods we're producing with the water tube boilers is just huge. That means we can actually take all 9 of our construction sectors from both states, and we only have a shortage of 50 iron and 64 tools. So let's redo the queue then. We're gonna do 1 iron tools, and we're gonna do another coal mine in Kyushu. Bring that up at the top of the queue. I've built a fertilizer plant in Chugoku, which allows me to change the production method for my farms now to include fertilizers, but that means I need a sulfur mine, so I'm gonna bring this up at the top of the queue as well. I'm also gonna need sulfur when I change over to the sulfite paper production method, which is gonna come soon, because I am researching mechanical tools right after Central Archives. That's why whenever you're designing your, especially in the early part of the campaign, whenever you design where exactly you want to have buildings, take into account the base resources available in that state before you build your buildings. So having sulfur, we can build a paper mill, which will intake sulfur with advanced production methods. Also, we can build fertilizers, which again will intake sulfur to produce these fertilizers. And we can also get explosives plants or explosives factories, which will require both fertilizer and sulfur. So we have all of these in a closed loop sort of state where market access doesn't impact the production cycle, since everything is present in the same state. As you progress in the campaign, this doesn't make that much of a difference in the later part, when you have high market access, when you have a lot of population, when you have a lot of everything really. But early in the campaign, it is really vital to properly plan exactly where you want to have factories built, and knowing where to build what is half the game really. We already have minus 400 grain. So in previous patches, this didn't matter much, but in this patch it does, because once you have way too much grain reduced, you're gonna start getting famines, and famines will kill your population super fast. I'm talking insanely fast. We don't want famines. It's the one thing we really need to avoid in this game now. Now, I am also gonna queue up a explosives factory in Chigoku, because I actually can use explosives already. I can switch to nitroglycerin production methods, my mines. Take note, this means that we get a lot of mortality for our engineers, laborers, and machinists, so we will lose population if we use a nitroglycerin, which is why you want to use it as a last resort. In most cases, you want to rush getting dynamite, which is safe, and it also produces more goods compared to nitroglycerin. But of course, before you even rush dynamite, you need to research all the technologies and the tier 2 technology. Otherwise, you get an ahead of time tech penalty. So let's hover over here. For example, Bessemer process cost us 10,000 innovation, right? Because we're currently on level 2 technology tier. If we go over it for dynamite, it costs us 37,000. You can see here we get an ahead of time penalty of 25,000. That is because we have 8 technologies in the second era which have yet to be researched. Oh, I'm gonna do dialectics before I do a mechanical tools, because this will also give me more innovation. It would allow me to change my production method for universities to the philosophy department, giving me an extra 33 innovation just from one click. That is huge. Economy is definitely recovering as well. We're on medium taxation and we're getting 72,000 national revenue. Considering the massive nerf Japan got in this patch, that's actually not too bad. Also, Also, getting nitroglycerin as well as dynamite increased the resource discovery chance, so we would get up to 50% resource discovery, which is great because we get a chance of discovering more gold fields in Hokkaido and other parts of the world whenever we conquer them. Now, we also got our very first company. We have a few options actually, which is surprising. Now, despite the fact that I have very low productivity right now, I'm actually gonna establish the Japanese Metal Incorporated company in Kanto. This is an iron industry company, and as you can see, 5 levels of our iron mine in the capital is as of now owned by the company. This is really good because we're gonna need a lot of iron in this campaign as we progress, and I'm actually gonna start building more construction sectors so we can get more use out of those iron mines that we have. And I'm also gonna get some more money making, as I like to call it, buildings such as furniture manufactories and more clothing workshops. Evenly distribute them around the areas, of course. Basically get one in every single province for now. And we got an embassy to France. Okay, that's gonna give us technology spreads for society for 2 years plus 100%. I think I'm gonna take that. Yes, that's actually really good. It's gonna allow us to catch up with technologies a lot faster. We already have spread for psychiatry. That is not the one I would like to have though. Also, we're definitely on the right path, guys. We got 2 million loyalists right now, which is huge. Only 200,000 radicals. It's just beautiful, honestly. Especially with nations like Japan. The initial campaign is significantly slower than it was in previous patches, and also modernizing is a lot slower, but you take your time with it, you'll get there. Also, I'm gonna do a second part for this run if we get 5,000 likes. I actually want to get this all the way to 1936, and because I'm talking a lot more than normal in this kind of video, which is intended to be more of a general guide for people both new to the game but also people new to the patch, I don't want to have like a video that's 2 hours long because no one's gonna watch that, right? So I'm gonna chop the video down in like 3 parts and release them one by one once we get the like goal. Holy mother of God, 269 more paper is gonna be required after we switch this production method. That seems like a lot of paper. Holy snap. Is that even worth it? Am I even making money off of that? I'm gonna have to get more of these paper mills now, at least 4 more. There you go. Since we've been building some furniture manufactories and like basic goods buildings, we also have a lot more national revenue now because we got more stuff that we can tax. I really hate the fact that the Heyman doesn't play nice with any of the other interest groups. Like, it's literally either only keep the Heyman or I have to get rid of them completely. I cannot mix them in with any of the other interest groups. It is unfortunate for sure. Finally, we went to adoption phase 2. Holy mother, dude. I have to look back at this at the recording. I think I've been going on agrarianism for like 6 years at least. I thought I was doing bad though, but I'm actually right behind the Prussians. How is that even possible? How is it that Prussia only has 15 million GDP? That is crazy. Prussia is not playing the way they should be playing. Prussia should be at least 30 million right now. At least 30 million in 1853. Even the Ottomans, with the buffs they got against the Egyptians now, look at that. They're doing really good. They're actually above the Prussians a little bit by 1 million GDP, give or take. Oh yeah, paper is definitely an issue. We're paying basically twice as much on paper than we were a few years back before we got the change for the government administration buildings. Hey, let's go, baby. We got agrarianism finally. Oh, this is such a big deal for us right now. This is actually a massive deal. And look at that. We already are back up to 45 legitimacy. Very close to being able to continue to oust the shogunate. I'm gonna go next for racial segregation. This way we accept more pops, including we accept the Han people a little bit more. We don't have too many pops in our country right now. If we go to society, we only have 11,000 open prejudice level, and we got 120,000 violent hostility society level. That's because we have some Han people which have 40 acceptance actually, so we would get a little bit more acceptance. I think it's still gonna be 40. I'm not sure. We'll see after. Ainu people though will get like 10 acceptance after we go for racial segregation, so it's better than nothing, I guess. Go ahead and get even more construction sectors. I'm really pushing the economy right now, but I feel like it can do it. You can do this, Japan. You can do it. You know you have it in you. Should I actually just realize I don't have enough government administration building? Let me get 3 of them in the capital. So at this point we have to, because we have reduction in bureaucracy. Pretty much the only time you start building government administration buildings as Japan is when you have bureaucracy reduction, so you catch up with that particular negative bureaucracy. And of course also when you want to upgrade your institution levels, it's 347 bureaucracy per institution level. But remember that these government administration buildings do cost, and the paper also costs for them too. We went down to minus 134 with paper, but it's still pretty pricey, so let's get a couple more paper mills, I guess. Oh, we got the final wart event again. Is this like something that triggers a lot? That's awesome. So we got another 15 legitimacy. We went up to 60 legitimacy, which means we're not even getting the enactment time reduction and the radicals from political movement. So we're really, really good right now then. Plus, it means we can continue to advance with the honorable restoration now. From the test runs as well, honorable restoration as Japan kind of comes around the 1865 or something like that in most cases. So it's, I have to say, the most historically accurate Japan in this particular patch compared to previous patches at least. No! British wants foreign investment in our country. That means it's gonna open up our market though, right? You know what? It's fine. I expected this. 80% of the runs in 1.8, the British or the French or the Americans want to open up our market. Again, it is kind of historical, right? The Americans did gunboat diplomacy and they opened up the market. So that's what's happening right now. I guess we're just gonna accept it. We have no choice here. We got free trade, so that means we can actually start trading with other nations, and we got the best type of trade policy. We would have struggled to get this legislation. Getting it like this for free is, in my opinion, pretty freaking good overall. Thank you, Britain, I guess I could say, right? That means we also can start establishing trade routes. We can do a coal import from the British, and also do from the Russians, some wood import, and we can do some Qing grain import because they have a ton of grain we can make use of. Now, this means we got the event, the opening of Japan. It lowers the political strength of the landowners by 75%, so they're basically gone. We got political strength for the intelligentsia and the industrialists, and we get 30 legitimacy, which is huge. We essentially now got 89 legitimacy because of this event. So I kind of wish that somebody tried to open up my market 10 years ago. That would have been even better. The only drawback to this is that we don't have isolationism, which gave us 50% authority, so we end up with minus 500 authority. We're gonna have to cancel some decrees right now. Promote social mobility times is over. But hey, you know what? It's not the end of the world. We still managed to get up to 75 literacy, and we still have the most literate people in the world, even more literate than the British themselves. Yeah, as I was expecting, Ainu get 10 acceptance, as do the Siberians and the Micronesians, so we still need to work on that a little bit more. Okay, let's check how many innovation points we have now since we changed to... It's actually not that many. We have only 83. I was expecting a few more. I guess it's time for us to build some more universities. We do have only 11 universities, to be fair. I think I'm going to build them in Kansai because I don't have much infrastructure left in Kanto, actually. I'm short of infrastructure for that matter. What is my shortage here, actually? I need 7 infrastructure, so I can easily fix that by getting a couple of ports. Every port level gives me 5 infrastructure, at least on the cargo port production method. We get more with the industrial and modern ports, of course. Oh my god, what is happening in India? Dude! Hindustan is massive! Are they a part of the British market still? No, they're not. So these are the breakaway people, the Hindustani. We still have the British East India, a part of the British bloc, but they barely own any land in India at this point. We got a few other breakaways. Hyderabad is, I believe, yes, it is an independent nation. Marwar is an independent nation, and so on. Ooh, this is juicy, man. This is really juicy. The collapse of the British Empire starts in India. We also, I believe, can do a lot more textile mills now, since we have a lot more pops that can afford to buy these clothes, so we got more higher demand for clothes. Look at that. We went up to minus 140 clothes imbalance now. After paper, we also should queue up a few logging camps. I think we queued up some. No, we queued up 7. Let's queue up a few more. I want to spread these out a little bit better as well. Get like a couple in each state, basically. We also can go for appointed bureaucrats, which again is going to increase our taxation capacity by 25%. Now guys, this is really important. We just got an agitator, right? However, this agitator has the ideology of authoritarian. In this patch, that's not a bad thing, because his ideology doesn't matter compared to the political movement that he supports. So what he's doing now is he's supporting the peasant movement, which has the land reformer ideology, core ideology. Only thing that this would matter is if we were to say make him the leader of our political party, then his personal ideology would matter, right? Right now, only thing he's doing is he's just making the peasant movement stronger, which is good because we still want the peasants to be pretty strong. We're gonna actually start moving away from the peasants in 3-4 years, and we're gonna start bolstering the industrialist and the intelligentsia instead. Rejoice, guys, we've overtaken the Prussians by a slight bit of GDP, so we're technically better than Prussia and the Ottomans now, okay? That's what's up, boys. I'm confident we can also overtake the United States soon-ish, and I'm also confident I can get one more construction sector, actually, so let's get one more in Kansai now. Do I need to say more? We got 100% success chance. My appointed bureaucrats on adoption phase failed to pass the law at 85% and went to 100. How is that normal, dude? How in what universe is that acceptable? I'm so mad, I'm gonna make another construction sector. Holy mother, trade agreement with the Russians. Yes, please. Oh, this changes everything, guys. This is the most significant thing that happened to us in a really long time, because now we can just import from the Russians whatever we have shortages of, and we can also export our excesses. We got some excess of of iron right now we can export to the Russia. Oh, we already are exporting. Okay, never mind. And look, we went to consideration phase. And yes, in case you're wondering, we're going for proportional taxation. We are completely ignoring per capita taxation. I know if we switch to per capita taxation, we'd actually be making a bit more money now because we'd get what we're getting from land-based taxation. Plus, we also get per capita taxation, right? An increased income tax. However, proportional taxation gives us dividends tax. So that means we start taxing those filthy capitalist scum, and the private building owners will pay us dividends. And there's going to be a ton of private building owners because we're going to privatize all of our buildings eventually, so we get more money out of dividends tax. Usually dividends works amazing when you have laissez-faire. We have no support for laissez-faire, unfortunately, right now. Even the industrialists do not want to get laissez-faire in our country. It's wild. I don't know why, but there's no support for it. However, eventually there will be some support for it, so we're playing the long game here. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get this done. After we get proportional, at some point we're gonna get laissez-faire too. That's a guarantee. Now let's also get railways. We need to start getting a railway in every single province for one of our journal entries once we modernize into the imperial part of Japan. We need to get a railway in Kanto because we have very low infrastructure. Remember that building ports will give you some infrastructure, but ports are significantly more expensive than building a railway. You get more infrastructure and it's cheaper to build a railway. I think I can also afford even more construction sectors. Let's get 1 and 2 more. Look at that. As soon as we got proportional taxation, our revenue increased by 30,000. Oh my god, dude. We're already getting dividends taxes, 3.7 thousand, better than no taxes from dividends. Plus our income tax increased significantly too. And we have the honorable restoration. We've restored the emperor to his rightful place. Now we can choose either the industrialists or the intelligentsia to get the political strength. I recommend whenever you make these kind of decisions, check what particular ideology you're interested in, because intelligentsia and industrialists have very different ideologies actually. Personally, I'm gonna go for the industrialists because they don't have much support right now, only 5.8% clout, so we instantly brought that up to 8.9. That's pretty good. We also get the follow the samurai, which means the samurai lose the bakufu ideology, which is a pro-serfdom, pro-autocracy ideology that we really want to get rid of. We're gonna go for the military research speed reduction. We don't want to piss them off though. We want to peacefully reintegrate them into our society. Now I also want to mention for internal security, the choice between National Guard and Secret Police is a lot more different now, because National Guard, it also offers harvest condition impact reduction, which makes it really good alongside the obvious conscripts that you get from it. But Secret Police gives political movement activism reduction. Remember that with this particular version, the only way you're going to get rebellions is from the political movements. I've had -20 relations with the landowners at multiple times in my playthrough, and they didn't rebel, because that's not how it works anymore. The only way you're going to get rebellions is from these particular movements. And if we have Secret Police, lowering those activists by 10% per level is huge. It's so huge, you essentially will never get rebellions ever again in your game. So it's a bit of a trade-off here. You don't get the conscripts, you don't get the harvest condition reduction, but honestly, not getting rebellions is such a freaking dream to me. So I'm gonna go for Secret Police. Now we also get some journal entries once we've restored the empire. We have to complete 3 of these journal entries to do the Kome restoration. We also can adopt state Shinto as the national religion, and this is going to change the interest group traits for the Buddhist monks. We go over to our religion. Right now we have 5 million Shinto and 31 million Mahayana. So if we do change to Shinto, this would kind of be the moment to do it. If we do this later in the campaign, it's going to be a lot more difficult to convert the rest of the pops to Shinto. But I'm going to do it just for the roleplay here. We're going to become, of course, Shinto. Now, for those particular restoration journal entries, one of them we have to have 70% of the urban centers at level 5, and we need to have a railway in that state as well. So that's fairly easy to do. Then for Endasakoku, we just need to open the borders, whilst the retire the samurai one we've already kind of done, so we don't need to worry about that one. Now to open the borders, it's actually not so difficult. We do have support for that from the industrialists and the petite bourgeoisie, so we can start working on that actually. I'm also going to stop bolstering the peasant movement, and instead I'm going to start bolstering the modernization movement. Why am I doing that? Because the core ideology for modernization gives me restricted child labor, compulsory primary education, so we can get level 5 education eventually with this, as well as it's also neutral towards laissez-faire, so I guess it's a little bit better rather than peasants movement at this point. Also, speaking of with the agitators, we have a new interaction. We can imprison them if we want to, aside from exiling them and of course granting leadership and so on. We also can do stir national agitation, which is basically he will stir up the people that are of our culture in another country, which is pretty cool. That's a nice new little feature they added. I just built my first food industry and all of my pops are so happy with it. I'm gonna build more food industries around the rest of the country. And I'm also gonna be building some more universities. I'm gonna get 3 more in the former capital of Kansai, because now it's changed to Kanto, and just a couple more around here, maybe a couple more in Kanto as well. We also can now get a defensive pact with the Russians, which is perfect. This might also encourage them to give me embassy. There's like a 40% chance that we do that, and considering that we don't lose any more recognition, I think it's time for me to start getting recognition from embassies. 1866, and we're doing fairly good actually. We currently are right above the Americans with our GDP and a little bit below the Austrians, but I'm fairly confident we can overtake the Austrians soon enough. We're making right now 153,000 on medium taxation, and we only have 33,000 in unrealized taxes. Once we finish passing closed borders and changing over to migration control, we also can do another one of our restoration journal entries, namely end the Sakoku. After that, we need to build a few railways to industrialize Japan, and that means we will have finished the restoration of the Japanese imperial household. Now, that being said, we have built up our fleet because it is time for us to create our own piece of colonial empire, and we're going to start with the easiest of targets. Gaza doesn't have any sort of support, only 14 battalions, and they're basically just easy pickings. That being said, we have some issues with grain, which in this patch is way more important than in previous patches, because check it out, those little issues with grain result in starvation. 44 people starving in this state, 378 starving in this state, and so on. 50,000 starving here, 24, 189,000 in here. So the idea is that starvation is no bueno. Our people will die from it, and we don't want that to happen, which is why we're spamming some rice farms. This really needs to take a priority if you don't want to lose a lot of these populations. We're also basically balancing out our income here. We're trying not to take too much loans because we're still not a major power. We are an unrecognized major power, so that doesn't give us the minus 25 interest for loans that being a recognized major power would give us. We've got the railways in the queue, so once these are done, industrialized Japan is going to be finished too. So if we just keep it at the same level as we are right now, in just the next 10 years, we will be able to overtake most of the major powers economically. We also have Takamori Okubo here, who is agitating for the modernization movement, which is perfect because that right now affects most of the political interest groups, including the armed forces and the petite bourgeoisie, both of which are in our government as it stands. So we're actually doing pretty good legitimacy wise as well. Hell, we even got 1 million loyalists and only 37,000 radicals. So reality is that we are playing this extremely well. No revolutions, no people upset with us. We got a decent, more than decent economy, and I think one of the main things we're going to focus on next is just increasing the standard of living of our pops. That means we go to population and see what exactly is causing our pops to struggle. Right now, apparently, transport is a big issue. That's going to be fixed as soon as we finish the railways we already have in the queue. Honestly, it really helped, especially the fact that we have textile mills in every province, furniture manufacturers as well in every province that we own, with the exception of Ryukyu and Karafuto. Nobody likes those places. We don't talk about those two areas, okay? There you go. Migration control, boys. Now that we have that migration control, let's go for public schools next. This way we can also do another one of our journal entries, the terracotta system, which will give us more education access as well as technology research speed, so we catch up with our technology. We're already doing pretty good with that though. We got 126 innovation, and we can actually increase that by quite a lot, but we're trying not to tank our economy at the same time, right? We've got 24 universities, which is costing us quite a bit. We might be able to get 5 more or 6 more, and then we can call it quits a few more years, I guess. We also managed to get the Russians to guarantee our independence, which is good because it means we don't need to worry about anybody else attacking us whilst we're attacking less fortunate nations. So there's both a good and a really bad part about getting public education. First off, it means that we're going to be really smart and we're going to get a lot more innovation and everything, but we're also going to need 800, actually 1,200 more bureaucracy just for these couple of institution levels alone. Now, we also need more for the rest of the institutions, so we will have to spam some government administration buildings. That's not a bad thing because we do have taxation issues around our country, so we're going to take it slowly and we'll prioritize prioritize getting education first before any of the other institutions leveled up. Now, of course, the next logical step is to go for laissez-faire, which will allow us to properly rely on a capitalist-based industrial society, which also means we're going to privatize all of our buildings, and we have right now a ton of national buildings, a lot of national buildings. So once we privatize all of these, we're going to make a lot of money, which we can use to super massively scale our construction efforts, and then we just live off of building buildings fast enough so we sell them off quick, and we just use that money to build more buildings in essence. That way we also increase the amount of capitalists, and we can get more dividends taxes off of those capitalists. I'm going to teach you guys a really neat trick that is easy to do in this particular patch. So we see here that one of the main parties that doesn't like us passing laissez-faire is the Haymen and the landowners. Now, we do have a modernization movement which affects the landowners. So that means, because we have migration control, what we can do is we can invite Parongatashi, which is a Tibetan, but because his culture and religion is slightly similar to ours and he is semi-accepted, we're able to invite him. And after we invite him, we can also make him the leader of the landowners if they are in the government. So we can do this quickly. Boom. Put him in the government. And after we give him leadership, we're not going to get so much disapproval from the landowners anymore. Look at that. It's only the Haymen and the trade unions that disagree with us getting laissez-faire. Of course, we're going to get him out of the government afterwards. But my point is that we just lost a massive amount of disapproval for laissez-faire, and well, it's like 6%, 7% disapproval. Still 7% better than no percent. Okay, it's just like 5 clicks. Come on, you can do this too. Oh, this is amazing. We're gonna get military assistance from the Russians, a new thing added in this patch, where we have 15% army defense, 10% army defense, and in return we give a little bit of experience to the Russians. I think it's worth it. It was a bit of a struggle, but we did get laissez-faire, and that means we can get our second or third company now. We actually have quite a few options, but I'm gonna go for Mitsui, which is actually one of the oldest companies in Japan, and in the game itself, it's gonna give us political strength for the industrialists alongside iron mine throughput and the textile mill, fertilizer, and lead mine company throughputs, which is construction bonus and actual goods produced will be more. 64% construction bonus. That is actually crazy. That is actually freaking crazy. I love companies in this patch. And also check out how much money we're going to be making from selling off national buildings. Now, we may have been a little bit of a bad boy since we are up to 68 infamy, but in my defense, it was worth it because we managed to grab Vristad and Transvaal, which means we got 10 gold mines and another 16 gold mines. So that's 26 gold mines from just these 2 provinces, which is huge. It is absolutely amazing how much money we're getting from 2 freaking provinces here. But yes, we are going to be chilling now. We don't want to attack anyone because, you know, we might have a little bit more infamy than we should have. We are close to 40 million GDP, however, and we're going to start scaling up our economy. We're right now number 4 after the Qing, Russians, and the British, and we're going to make our way to number 2 and then number 1 once we start taking the coastline of Qing. In order to do that, we just need to upgrade to skirmishers, and we actually have in the queue, after our beautiful gold mines, 2 munition plants, which will allow us to upgrade our units to the skirmisher infantry, and then we can start the invasion of Qing. I do, however, have only 10 ships, so I'm gonna have to get a few more ships as well. Let's say 30 ships should be enough before the invasion. We have built our very own military shipyard, so we're not relying on imports for our ships, which was a little bit of an issue before, let's say. Now we have modernized Japan. We have become an economic powerhouse. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.